Over the years, we've seen a lot of broken things in 2K. From Facescans creating some pretty wild creatures, to 7-foot Demigods running point, to games where people were literally playing without a basketball. Some of these saved you a grind, others made you want to get a refund. And they all definitely had you scratching your head at some point. And that's why today, we're looking at 10 times 2K was way too broken.
There is no way we just saw that!
Number 10.
At number 10, we have broken player models from 2K12. In 2K12, we already know the game was pretty cheesy with things like the spin dunk.
Look at that cheese!
But it wasn't just cheese, it was also pretty broken. And a good example of that is some of the player models in this game just straight up did not look right. Some of the most memorable ones were when players like Klay Thompson randomly had black arms with a white body. And it was just insane to see in game. And the funniest part, coaches weren't safe either, because 2K had some of them out there looking wild as well. And a good example of that was Rick Adelman, who was just randomly chilling on the side of the court with black hands. And having players with black arms is one thing, but they also had players in the game who were straight up missing their head. Every time these guys showed up, you were staring at the screen trying to figure out how this even happened. But hey, at least it left us with some funny memories. But to be honest, it was pretty broken. And broken player models are one thing, but imagine trying to play 2K with no basketball at
Number 9.
At number 9, we have the ball disappearing. At one point in 2K, the game didn't just break, it had you playing with an imaginary basketball. And the funny part, the players were still just playing around like everything was normal, like nothing was even wrong. They all just looked like they were pretending the ball was still there, looking absolutely ridiculous. But after a couple quarters, it started getting pretty annoying, because you had no idea what was even going on. And the only option you really had was to sit through it or quit and deal with the loss. And it was pretty hilarious, confusing, and completely broken. And not being able to see the ball is definitely broken. But up next, we have something that you were definitely able to see, but you probably wish you didn't at
Number 8.
At number 8, we have face scans. When face scans were most broken was probably 2K15, which is when they were first introduced to the game. Because this was the year dudes weren't just getting bad scans, they were creating some absolute monsters.
What is that?
Sometimes without even trying to. And most of them, instead of trying again, they would just leave the creature that 2K created and use it as their face scan, which made it even more hilarious. But it didn't stop there, because you also had dudes who were intentionally breaking the game by making their head a literal box. The dude's head came out looking like a literal box that covered the majority of the screen. And if you played against them, you couldn't even tell what was going on half the time, because every time they got the ball, you couldn't even see it anymore. That was until they shot the ball or passed. So you were basically just sitting there spamming buttons and just hoping for the best. But they didn't all break the game, and there was also some pretty funny ones, like the dudes whose necks were stretched so long that they looked like literal giraffes. And then of course, you had the dudes who looked like they took a frying pan straight to the face right before they loaded into the park. And back then, this wasn't even a rare occurrence, because these things were just running around in every park. And it's easily one of the funniest yet broken things the game has ever had. But imagine not being able to see an entire team like
Number 7.
At number 7, we have invisible players. We mentioned the ball disappearing, making the game look insane, but playing against the whole team that's invisible, that's just even more broken. You load into the game and immediately wonder what's going on and why only one team showed up to the arena. That was until the ref threw a tip and you lost it to absolutely no one. But that's when you realized all you could do was laugh and maybe even send an angry tweet to Ronnie telling him to fix his game.
That's funny.
And if they start running plays, you might as well just sit back and quit, because you can't even tell who you're trying to guard. This made absolutely no sense, because you were basically playing against a full team of ghosts. And this wasn't even an offline glitch either. People were also running into this online in Park and Rec. And like I said, there's nothing you could do about it besides sit through it or quit. And that makes it absolutely broken. And making your players disappear is kind of funny, but what's not funny is when your VC starts to disappear with
Number 6.
At number 6, we have the blank endorsement checks. At one point in 2K, they didn't just scam us with the high prices of VC, they literally stopped paying you. You'd finish a My Career game, play pretty well, and then you'd see a screen pop up telling you that you earned an endorsement check. And at that point, you're thinking, oh, damn, more free VC. But then you go to your agent's office to pick up the check, except it was just a blank check. And the only thing it had on it was a signature. It gave you no VC.
Where's my money?
At first, you thought maybe it was a visual glitch, because things like this happen all the time in 2K. But that's when you realized your VC didn't move at all. So even though you earned your endorsement check, they must have been running out of VC, because you were just getting scammed. And I mean, it was usually only around 500 to 1,000 VC, but you still were feeling like 2K definitely did you dirty. And you were also pretty annoyed that you didn't get what the game promised. And instead, 2K decided to prank you with a blank check, probably laughing while you walked out of the office. And 2K stealing your VC is definitely broken, but you were able to steal VC from 2K at
Number 5.
At number 5, we have the 2K14 VC glitch. In 2K14, people found a way to break the entire VC and upgrade system, because there was a glitch where you would intentionally drop your VC into the negatives by spending all you had and then playing a game where you get an F teammate grade, so you'd get negative VC from the game. And because of that, it would put your total balance into the negatives, which straight up just made your VC disappear. And once that happened, you were good to go, because you could go into the upgrades and just start buying everything in the game for free. You can max your guy out, buy all the animations, and even buy all the signature skills, which for all the people who started after 2K14, those were badges. But once your VC disappeared under your name, the game basically didn't know what to do anymore, and it completely broke. But it definitely saved you a ton of time not even having to grind. The only time it fixed itself was when you played your next game, but it didn't matter because you could buy everything you possibly could need before you played again. And the craziest part about this glitch is that it actually still works to this day, so if you have 2K14, you could actually still go ahead and try it yourself. And breaking the game to cheat the grind is one thing, but the game used to break so bad that you wouldn't even earn any rep at
Number 4.
At number 4, we have the frozen rep bar. It didn't matter what online mode you were playing. If you were unlucky, the game would just randomly freeze your rep. So you would play full games trying to grind your rep, but when the game ended, everything else would be normal, but your rep bar, that wouldn't move at all. And things like wins, losses, stats, none of it mattered because you were basically just playing the game for VC at that point because your rep was just frozen. And the worst part is, sometimes you wouldn't even notice. So people were grinding for hours thinking that they were making progress, only to realize that they were stuck at the same exact rep that they started at. So even if you enjoyed playing the game, it almost felt pointless if your rep was stuck because you'd constantly be wondering what rep you would be if the bar was never frozen. And I mean, there was tons of videos on how to fix the issue, but most of them didn't even work. And having frozen rep is broken, but being able to cheat your way through the rep grind is even more broken with
Number 3.
Up next, we have the 98 overall glitch in 2K19. In 2K19, the Road to 99 system completely broke. That's because there was a glitch where players could load into a game, mess with the rosters, and suddenly boost their player all the way to a 98 overall without even having to grind at all. You could upgrade attributes, max out badges, and even equip animations that you normally wouldn't even be able to get at whatever overall you were actually at. And because Road to 99 was such a grind this year, hitting a 98 overall basically made it feel like you beat the game, so being able to do it without even having to grind was obviously pretty broke. But what made this glitch so weird is that some of it wasn't even permanent, but your badges and animations, those would all stay. So even if your overall dropped back down, you still kept a ton of stuff that you shouldn't even have unlocked. And all of this was happening before Rebirth was even a thing, because that wasn't even introduced until 2K22. So if you wanted to make a new build, this glitch felt like a shortcut through one of the hardest grinds 2K's ever had with the Road to 99. And it completely broke the balance and made people who actually grinded feeling like they wasted their time. But what we have next was so broken, it made 2K straight up remove a whole game mode at
Number 2.
At number 2, we have modded players. In 2K11, things got so broken that it wasn't just glitches anymore. People were straight up breaking the game itself, because this was the era of modded players. People found ways to completely customize impossible builds and use them online in a crew mode game or pickup games, which was basically blocked up online at the time. But the mods, those were pretty insane. We're talking about guys that were 8 foot tall, had maxed out everything, and could do anything you needed them to do on the court, whether it was realistic or not. The craziest ones I saw was a 25-foot SpongeBob SquarePants, but it wasn't just massive players, because they had a 1-inch player where the ball was literally bigger than the player himself. And players weren't just modding the height. They had crazy players like Obama, and you could even use the crew coach. And remember those headless player models we talked about in 2K12? They were also in 2K11, except in this game, it was purposefully put in by people modding the game. It was hilarious, but also annoying, especially if you didn't have modded players yourself. But probably the craziest part, through all of this game was still really fun. And while 2K12 was out, since they didn't have online MyPlayer, a lot of players were going back to 2K11 because it was so much fun. And the reason you couldn't use your MyPlayer online in 2K12 is because it was so broken in 2K11 that they had no choice but to remove it from the game, which disappointed a lot of people. And even though 2K11 was one of the most broken 2Ks ever, it was still one of the best ever made. And modded players were really broken, but what's just as broken is what we have at
Number 1.
At number 1, we have Demigods in 2K15. In 2K15, the game didn't just break, it completely lost control. And it was definitely very broken. This was the year of the Demigods. We're talking 7-foot players running point, dribbling like Kyrie, shooting like Curry, and finishing like LeBron, with every single badge being the max, which at the time was gold. And they had a wingspan that made them look like an alien. But every game turned into the same thing. You you'd load in and immediately see demigods everywhere. And the worst part about this one, 2K took forever to patch this glitch, and even after they patched it, people who were able to do it, they still got to keep their builds and never got banned or anything. And if you play 2K15 on Xbox, you know the only thing stopping the demigods, that was the Lizard Squad, because they were constantly hacking Xbox and making it impossible to even sign in at the time. But demigods are easily one of the most broken things in 2K history because almost everyone had one, and it's one of the most memorable things for 2K15 in general. And that is 10 times 2K was way too broken. If I missed any, let me know in the comments, and let me know which one you remembered the most. As always, thank you for watching. I love each and every one of you, and because I care about you guys so much, with the weather getting colder, please just remember to
Stay saucy.
Ever since I can remember, I've been popping my collar.